until after the election. This is certainly welcome news. However, many questions, as I alluded earlier, still remain. I want you to know that I understand and share many of your concerns. It is undeniable that the United States Postal Service provides a crucial service to our community and our nation. It is also true that President Trump and his administration have attacked the Postal Service at every run. Hasty changes to the Postal Service can have dire consequences. For example, just yesterday, I heard from a constituent whose story reminds me why we need to support the Postal Service. Stephen is a disabled Vietnam veteran living in Santa Barbara, whose life depends on medication that is delivered by the U.S. mail from the VA. Almost 100% of the medications are sent via the United States Postal Service for veterans. As a result of recent mail delays, Stephen told my office that he is on the verge of running out of life-saving medication. This is unacceptable. Our veterans, seniors, and small businesses, who all rely on the Postal Service to live their lives and to conduct their business, deserve better. I will continue to fight back against attempts to undermine this crucial institution. That's why I will be traveling back. I will be traveling back to Washington, D.C. this weekend to vote on the Delivering for America Act, which will codify law to ensure that the proposed changes that this Postmaster General and administration wanted to do not move forward for sure. This legislation will prohibit any changes to the operations of the United States Postal Service to be the same as they were at the same level as of January 1st, 2020. This would maintain current standards, service standards, and block changes instituted by the Trump-appointed Postmaster General, which have exacerbated the crisis of the United States Postal Service. For instance, first-class mail was not going to be the designation for election material. Fast processing machines of our mail for this upcoming election were going to be taken out of service. Processing machines were going to be taken out of service, and overtime, as it's usually done for U.S. Postal Service employees to help with the overflow of work, was going to be cut. These changes must not go forward at this time. We must also ensure we provide the Postal Service with the resources necessary to continue providing for our community. Back in May, I voted for the HEROES Act to extend $25 billion, a lifeline to the United States Postal Service, and support postal workers who have been serving on the front line. But we can't just stop there. I'm pleased to announce that the House will be conducting an oversight hearing next Monday on August 24th to question the Postmaster General, DeJoy, about the operational changes he was proposing. As of the November election draws near, it is vital that Americans feel confident that their election mail will be received and delivered in a timely fashion. The administration has repeatedly made false claims about the integrity of the vote by mail. I want to assure you that voting by mail is safe, secure, option for you to cast your ballot. You can get more information from vote.gov or by contacting my office. Yes, even President Trump requested his ballot a week ago, and he has been voting by mail for the past years. I will continue working to ensure the Postal Service has the resources it needs to continue providing for our community, and have one message for the Trump administration: don't mess with the United States Postal Service. With that, I want to thank all of you for coming, and I want to thank a few people that are going to speak today. Next, we have Goleta Mayor Pro Tem Kyle Richards, who will be sharing a few words.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to Congressman Salud Carbajal. I'm Kyle Richards. I'm a Goleta City Council member. I'm also serving as Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Paula Brody, unfortunately, is not able to be here today. I'm asked to say a few words on her behalf. So on behalf of our residents, the City of Goleta would like to thank Congressman Salud Carbajal for his cooperation and action in resolving this issue.
Thank you.
And we would like to thank Postmaster Michelle Ortiz for her responsiveness. The removal of this box sure got our community's attention. The city was flooded with complaints over the weekend from our residents, and they wanted to know why the box was removed, who removed it, and when it would be replaced. They were upset, confused, and angry. I wish that we had something to tell them. Unfortunately, we were not notified about this in advance, and we had no information to share. Yesterday, the mayor sent a letter to the post office, and by working with Representative Carbajal, we were able to finally get more information. We are happy and relieved that the box has been replaced, and we appreciate the cooperation of the Congressman's office and the responsiveness of our local post office. Given the nationwide outcry that we are hearing about postal delays, prices, cutbacks, our residents need to have trust and faith in our postal services. Unfortunately, by not alerting us in advance, this episode erodes our trust and instead of increasing it. The removal of this collection box was more than just a minor inconvenience. For some, including seniors, people with physical challenges, or those supervising a child in a vehicle, this meant the inability to send their mail. Access to a mailbox is a necessity and should not be considered a convenience or a luxury. Our mail service is a service our community depends on. Our businesses, our veterans, our parents, our voters rely on the mail for critical services like medication, commerce, paychecks, and tax documents. We thank Congressman Carbajal for his responsiveness and for his efforts to guarantee the integrity of our mail service. And we thank the Postal Service employees for their tireless efforts to deliver our mail day after day. As we have heard about their motto, neither snow nor rain nor heat, and I will add, nor obstruction in the gloom of night, stays these couriers from the swift completion of their rounds. May that always be true. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Next, we have Council Member James Carriaco, and I see another council member here that I will also extend the opportunity to speak after James. So, James.
All right, James.
Council Member James Carriaco.
Thank you, Salud. Appreciate your being here today. It's always a good day to be in Goleta, surrounded by fellow Goleta residents. Unfortunately, we have to be here in somewhat complicated circumstances. I want to begin by acknowledging that our Congressmember, Salud Carbajal, is a member of what's called the Problem Solvers Caucus in Washington, D.C. And So as I look back on these new mailboxes, problem solved. But while the problem locally is solved, the underlying issues remain. The issues about transparency, the issues about access to mail, these are issues that are still going on around this country. While I'm pleased to hear that the post office, the postmaster general, is stopping the removal of mailboxes, what about the other mailboxes in other communities that haven't been replaced yet? What's their plan? What's their timeline? What are their rights? What about their right to vote? What about their right for important medication? Their right to information? The Postal Service is at its heart a service. Yes. It's enshrined in our Constitution. It should cost you as much to get your mail in Maine as it costs to get your mail in Goleta. Everyone should be the same. Everyone should be equal. And so it's so important that we have trust in our communities and we have access in our communities. And unfortunately, incidents like this erode trust. When there's no transparency, it erodes trust. When there's no communication, it erodes trust. I personally am thankful today that we have a representative like Salud Carbajal who is standing up for us, making sure that we have access to the things that we need, making sure that we can get our mail again in Goleta. And I just want to thank him for helping to build my trust in our local representation here in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, James. Next we have Councilmember Roger Aceves.
Gracias a todos por venir hoy. Es importante que tenemos un voice y que lo usamos fuerte. I thank everybody for showing up today. It's a good example of how Galetians come together with a voice to fight injustice, to fight issues like these that are done to us without talking to us. So I thank the Congress for getting on this immediately. This was new to all of us, and there were so many mailboxes around the community, not Goleta. We have one at Stork, and of course we have one at Anna Cabot Street, but they didn't mess with those. They came to Goleta. So, you know, the story here is Goleta is very powerful, our citizens are very powerful, and we will speak up, we will stand up, and fight for our city. Goleta is a good land. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Aceves. And to close out our program, we have Chris Henson, Chief of Staff to the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Greg Hart.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Chris Henson. I'm the Chief of Staff to 2nd District Supervisor and Board Chair Greg Hart. Unfortunately, Supervisor cannot be here today as the Board of Supervisors is currently in session. I think the volume of constituent outreach to our office speaks volumes to the level of concern that exists locally about the removal and mechanical replacement of these drop-off. The Postal Service is foundational to our democracy and the everyday needs of our community. The prospect of a depleted or even defunct Postal Service is unthinkable to seniors who may rely on the Postal Service for their prescription drugs, or small businesses who use the Postal Service as an economic lifeline as they ship their products to customers. And of course, there's the anxiety concerning the possible decline of the Postal Service and its impact on the upcoming November election. On a positive note, just this morning, the Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to receive over $800,000 in Federal CARE Act dollars, thank you, Congressman, to assist with the November election. These dollars will be used to hire additional staff, provide protective masks and equipment for staff and poll workers, and allow for resources for outreach and communication to the public. Again, Congressman, thank you for your service to the community. You're a tremendous public servant. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Henson. Again, I just want to reiterate, let's social distance, give some space between yourselves. Make sure you're wearing your masks. It's really important. With that, we'll open it up for questions.
Are they going to replace these ones so that you don't have to touch the post box during the pandemic?
They will have a opening on the side. Regrettably, you do have to get out. We are informed, but the reason they changed these, we were informed, is because people were damaging the mail and fishing mail out of it. So they put in a certain new engineered boxes that doesn't allow for people to be able to pull things out. The regretful thing is that you can't drop off mail 24/7 unless you get out of your car and drop it off on the other end. So it does provide some limitations. We posed a number of questions to the U.S. Postal Service about, do they have plans to do this to others? Do they have plans for making other changes? We haven't received answers, so we are pursuing those questions at all levels of the United States Postal Service. Ida, any more questions? That's another issue of concern. We were obviously very concerned that the city of Goleta was not notified, my office was not notified, nor the public was notified.
That's right.
A lapse in communication, and certainly of great concern.
Can you tell us who locally had the authority to move these boxes?
We were informed that it was a local postmaster working with its higher ups, but no specific person were we able to identify as the main person. Yes. One more question, but this is really meant for the media. Yes.
If I know next week the House is going to vote on legislation for funding $25 billion for the post office. If the Senate does not take that up, assuming it passes the House, is there any other way that the Postal Service might get the additional funding it needs?
Well, the CARES Act made available up to $10 billion of borrowing capacity. That was on top of their existing borrowing capacity, so there is some resources for them to be able to, for the time being, stabilize itself. But we know that with the ongoing COVID vote by mail that's going to be needed for this upcoming election, we want to make sure they have all the resources they need. They requested $75 billion. $25 billion is what the Democrats put in the HEROES Act that passed in May. And we're waiting to negotiate that amount in the upcoming economic relief package that we will continue to work on, and I hope happens sooner rather than later.
I just want to say that a senior citizen has been sitting there for a couple minutes trying to figure out how to get his mailbox. He responded on the speak on all.
Yes, that's a good example. Thank you for pointing that out. You can see that. And that's an example of some of the challenges that this is going to pose. Any other questions? Thank you very much.